The flashes hit her like a slap, and the whole press line forgot how to breathe at once. A woman her size, on his arm, at the door of the most photographed event in the country. You could hear the question move down the carpet faster than the cameras could catch it. Somebody said it out loud before they could stop themselves. A woman her size, on Kang Tae-Yul's arm? And Amara Okono heard every word of it, lifted her chin 1 degree higher, and kept walking. Here is the thing nobody on that carpet understood. A man like Tae-Yul did not pose. In 10 years, no photographer had ever caught his full face on purpose. He gave the cameras a shoulder, a turned cheek, a back. Tonight he turned and faced them. He let them have all of him, standing dead center in the light he had spent a decade avoiding, and he did it with her hand on his arm. The men who knew him went cold, because Kang Tae-Yul never did anything by accident. At the top of the staircase, So-Ra-Han watched her entire future rearrange itself in real time. She had been told, by people who did not get told no, that she would be the woman on his arm tonight. Her gown was chosen for the photographs. Her smile was practiced for the headlines. And now, there was another woman in the light below her, glowing gold, and the champagne in So-Ra's hand had gone warm and untouched. Her heart was doing something ugly and fast in her chest. Higher still, where the light barely reached, Chairman Kang Seung looked down at his own son and saw a declaration of war. He had built this family on one rule. You never let them see what you love, because the thing they see is the thing they take from you. And his son had just dragged the thing he loved into the brightest light in the country and held still for the photograph. The old man's jaw tightened until it ached. Someone was going to pay for this before the night was over. Min-ho had been at Tae-Yul's side for 11 years, and in 11 years he had never once seen the man do something he could not explain. He could explain everything Tae-Yul did. It was his job, but he could not explain this, and the not knowing sat in his stomach like a swallowed stone. He watched the woman in gold climb the steps into the room, watched the way his boss stayed half a pace behind her instead of leading, and something in the back of his mind whispered a warning he did not yet have words for. The room turned to look at her, the way a room looks at something it has already decided to feel sorry for. Poor thing, their faces said. In over her head, she will be eaten alive in here. Amara felt every one of those looks land, catalogued them, and let them slide off. They had no idea. Not a single person in that golden marble room understood that she had not been brought here. She had allowed herself to be brought. And every face pitying her right now was already exactly where she needed it to be. The whispers found their rhythm the way they always do at these things. Did you see her? Did you see what she is wearing? Do you think he lost a bet? Someone laughed, low and cruel, behind a raised glass. Amara took a flute of champagne she had no intention of drinking and let the room believe its own story for a little while longer. There was a particular kind of power in being underestimated by an entire room at once. She had built her whole life on it. Stay close to me, he said against her ear, low enough that no one else could catch it. There are men in this room who would hurt you to hurt me. I will not let that happen. And Amara nodded, soft and grateful, and let him believe he was the wall between her and the danger. It was almost sweet, how sure he was that he was protecting her. He kept his hand at the small of her back like a man guarding something fragile. He had no idea he was standing next to the most dangerous person in the building. And then, across the gold and the glittering crowd, she saw the one face that did not belong here, the one face that turned her practiced calm into a thin sheet of ice over very deep water. Her pulse climbed without her permission. Everything she had planned tonight depended on no one connecting her to a single person back home, and that person had just walked into the room. If you are still in this room with Amara right now, watching her decide whether to take his hand in front of every camera in the country, then do one small thing for her. Tap subscribe, not because anyone is demanding it, but because it tells this channel that the stories built to make you feel this are landing with the people they were made for. It is the only signal that keeps these episodes coming. Subscribe and stay in the room. What happens next is worse than what you think. The phone in her clutch buzzed once against her hip, just once. One short pulse, the kind she had set for exactly one contact and no other. She felt it land in her body like a dropped stone. Not now, she thought. Please, not now, not here, not with him standing this close. She slid the phone halfway out without lifting it, turned the screen toward her body where no one could read it over her shoulder, and looked down. The name on the glass made the floor tilt under her gold heels. Nadia, her little sister. The whole reason any of this existed, The soft center underneath all the cold strategy, the one person Amara had spent 3 years building this entire scheme to protect. And the message was 4 words long. They know. Help me. Amara's careful breathing stopped working. She read it again, as if the words might rearrange themselves into something survivable. They did not. Somewhere out there in the dark, the deal that kept her sister safe had just come apart, and it had come apart the instant those cameras caught her in the light. For 3 years, she had not let a single crack show on her face. Not to a banker, not to a lawyer, not to a man holding a gun. She let one show now, just for half a second, just for her sister. Then she folded it away, set the untouched champagne down on a passing tray, and murmured something light to Tae-Yul about needing a moment. He searched her face. He almost caught it. She smiled at him with everything she had, and walked toward the side corridor on legs that did not feel like hers. The corridor swallowed the noise of the party the moment the door swung shut behind her. Out here it was just her, the crimson carpet, and the sound of her own heart going far too fast. She let the wall hold her up. 3 years of control, and it all came down to 4 words on a screen. They know. Help me. She pressed her palm flat against her sternum, like she could push the panic back down. Then she did the only thing she had ever done when the floor fell away. She got to work. Quick thing, only if you are still walking this corridor with her, because not everyone makes it this far in. Drop the one emoji that matches the mood you are sitting in right now, and while you are there, tell me where you are watching from and what time it is where you are. If you are on a TV, hit that like button so I know you are in here with us. Then lock back in, because the next thing she does in this hallway is going to change the whole night. She dialed her sister. It rang once and went dead, sent straight to nothing. She dialed again. Dead again. Her hand went to the small brass key hanging at her throat, the one thing she had kept from the life before all of this, and she held it the way some people hold a prayer. Pick up, she breathed. Nadia, pick up the phone. On the 3rd try, a man's voice answered her sister's line, smooth and amused, and Amara's blood turned to ice water in her veins. Hello, Amara, Devlin Park said, like they were old friends. She knew that voice. She had spent 2 years keeping that voice as far from her sister as a continent and a fortune could manage. We had an arrangement, he went on, easy and slow. Your sister stays untouched, you stay invisible, and then you went and got your picture taken on the most famous arm in the country. He let the silence stretch, savoring it. So the arrangement is over, and I have your sister. Through the phone, Amara heard her sister breathing, fast and shallow, somewhere in that room. Nadia, she said, and her voice did something it never did. It shook. I am coming. Do not be afraid. Do you hear me? I am coming for you. And Devlin laughed, soft and delighted, because he thought he had just found the crack in a woman with no cracks. He thought he had found her weakness. He had no idea he had just made the single worst mistake of his life. She lowered the phone. The fear was still there, would always be there, sitting right under her ribs where Nadia lived. But she folded it down beneath something older and harder, something she had spent 3 years assembling in the dark while everyone underestimated her. Devlin thought he had taken her sister. What he had actually done was force her hand a few hours earlier than she had planned. She was ready a few hours early. She slid the phone away and turned back toward the gold light of the party. He came looking for her, because of course he did. He found her standing in the half-dark with her chin up and her eyes wrong, and every protective instinct in him went taut. What happened, he said. Who do I need to deal with? And there it was. The offer to be her wall again, her sword, her shield. Amara looked at this dangerous man so certain he was the strong one in the room, and she made a decision she had been circling all night. She stopped pretending, some of it anyway. I do not need you to deal with anyone, she said, and her voice had changed. The softness was gone, and what was underneath it stopped him cold. I need you to listen, and I need you to stop assuming you are the most dangerous person standing in this hallway. She watched the words land, watched him recalibrate everything he thought he knew about the woman he had walked into that gala. You did not bring me here tonight, Tae-Yul. She let that sit. I let you bring me. For 11 years, Tae-Yul had read rooms faster than anyone alive. He read people in the half-second before they spoke. And he had read this woman as a beautiful, breakable thing he needed to protect, and he had been wrong in every direction at once. He saw it now, The steel that had been there the whole time, the way she had let him hold her at the small of her back like a prop, the way nothing in this building frightened her the way it should. "Who are you?" he said quietly, and for the first time all night, he meant it. She turned the phone so he could see it, and she watched the most powerful man in the country go pale. On the screen was a single document, a controlling stake in the Kang holdings, a signature line, an account number that should not have existed and absolutely did. She had been buying his family quietly, patiently, through a dozen names that led back to one for 3 years. "I own the leash your father thinks he holds," she said softly. "So no. You are not protecting me. We are protecting each other now, whether you like it or not." He could have been angry, a lesser man would have been. Instead, Tae-Yul did the thing that made him dangerous in the first place. He adjusted. "Tell me what you need," he said. "Not as a protector now, as a partner. Devlin Park has my sister," she said. "And the only reason he dared touch her tonight is those photographs. So you and I are going to make him regret every single flash." Something passed between them in that hallway, quick and electric, that neither of them named. What neither of them saw was Minho at the dark end of the corridor, close enough to catch the shape of it, not the words, the shape. His boss, leaning in toward this woman like she mattered more than the family. The phone in Minho's hand felt suddenly very heavy. 11 years of loyalty, and underneath it, a debt to the chairman that Tae-Yul had never known about, a leash of his own. He looked at the man he had bled for, and he made the worst choice of his life. He started typing. Then her phone lit again, and this time it was Nadia's number, the real one. Amara snatched it up with her heart in her throat. "Nadia," she breathed. "Are you hurt? Where are you?" And her sister's voice came through small and strange, too steady for a girl who had sent help me an hour ago. "Amara," Nadia said, "I need to tell you something before he does." And every warning bell Amara owned began to ring at once. "It was me," Nadia said. The words came out in a rush, like she had been holding them underwater for years. "I am the one who told them where you were. I gave Devlin your name. I have been telling him your moves since the beginning. Amara, please listen." The silence on Amara's end was the worst sound Nadia had ever heard. The sister she had spent 3 years protecting, the clean tether, the one good thing, and it had been bleeding her out from the inside the entire time. "Why?" was all Amara could manage. The word came out of her cracked down the middle. And Nadia, crying now, gave her the answer that was so much worse than a clean betrayal. "Because the life you were building was going to get you killed," Nadia sobbed. "I thought if Devlin always knew where you were, you would always be too valuable to hurt. I sold you to keep you alive. I am so sorry. I did it because I love you." Both things were true at once, and both of them cut. Across the city, in a study where the shadows never quite cleared, the chairman read the message Minho had just sent him. His son, the woman, the leaning in, and below it, a name his people had pulled in the last hour, a name attached to a stake in his holdings he had not authorized and could not explain. Amara Okono. Chairman Kang Seung set the phone down with great care. The woman in the photographs was not a scandal. She was a threat to the bloodline itself, and threats to the bloodline got erased. He made one call. 2 words into the dark, calm as a man ordering dinner. "Remove her." Then he hung up and looked out at the city his family had bled for, and felt nothing at all, because feeling nothing was the rule that had kept him alive for 70 years. He did not know that his order was already too late. He did not know that the leash he thought he held had been bought out from under him months ago. The old king was about to learn what it felt like to be the one who did not see it coming. So Ra had followed them. Of course she had. She had stood in the shadows of that corridor and heard enough to understand that the woman in gold had taken everything that was supposed to be hers, and a jealousy she had been raised to swallow finally curdled into something with teeth. She lifted her phone. She had one card nobody knew she held, an old family law, a clause about being witnessed together before the cameras of the nation. She could trap them both. She typed 3 messages and felt powerful for the last time that night. Tae-Yul's phone buzzed 3 times in a row, and she watched the blood leave his face. "Minho is dark," he said, half to himself. "He is not answering. That has never happened." Then his eyes flicked up to hers, and what was in them turned her cold. "My father gave an order tonight. I know what his orders sound like even when no one tells me." He took her hand, and this time it was not for the cameras. "We have to leave, now, before the doors are watched." An old man stepped out of the shadows and stopped them both. "Master Yoongi Seo." the one who had taught Tae-Yul every rule he was now breaking. He did not look at Tae-Yul. He looked at Amara, and something old and pained moved behind his eyes, as if he had been waiting years to see this exact face in this exact light. "The service road," he said quietly, pressing a set of keys into Tae-Yul's hand. "The mountain house. Go now, and do not stop for anyone." He held Amara's gaze 1 second too long. "There are things you do not yet know, child." They went out the back, through the part of the building the cameras never saw, the gold gown gathered in her fist and her heels in her other hand. Behind them the gala glittered on, oblivious, while 2 of its most watched guests vanished into a stairwell. She did not let herself think about Nadia yet. She did not let herself feel the old man's words yet. She ran, and the man beside her ran with her, and for the length of that dark corridor it was just the 2 of them against everyone who wanted them gone. The city took an hour to let them go. Amara watched it smear past the glass and did not speak, the key biting into her palm. 3 years of careful work, and the one clean thing in it had been the leak the whole time. Tae-Yul drove them himself, out past the last lit exit and onto the dark road that climbed. He did not fill the silence with comfort. He let her sit in it. Somehow that was the kindest thing anyone had done for her all night. When he finally spoke, the city was long gone and the trees had taken over. "I faced those cameras tonight on purpose," he said. "Everyone thinks I lost my mind." He kept his eyes on the dark road. "I have spent 10 years making sure no one ever saw what I cared about, because in my family the thing they see is the thing they take." He swallowed. "And tonight I decided I was done hiding you." That was the truth, and it cost him to say it. The snow started somewhere on the 2nd hour of climbing, light at first, then thick enough to swallow the road behind them. By the time the cabin lights appeared through the trees, the way down was already vanishing under white. Good, Tae-Yul thought grimly. Let it close. Whatever his father had set loose tonight would have to wait until morning to find them up here. He did not let himself think about what waited in the morning. He only watched the warm gold windows grow closer through the storm. The cabin was older than the empire that owned it, low and solid and built by someone who understood mountains. Inside, the air smelled of cold pine and old wood smoke. Tae-Yul knelt at the stone hearth and built a fire with hands that knew the work, and Amara stood in the doorway watching the most feared man in the country coax a flame to life like a boy at a campsite. The image did something to her she did not have the strength to fight tonight. The fire took the worst of the cold out of the room, and slowly, out of her too. She told him then, in the firelight, all of it. The slum she had climbed out of. The years buying his family in the dark. The sister she had built an empire to protect, who had sold her to keep her alive. He listened without once trying to fix it. When she finished, the only sound was the fire. She had never said any of it out loud to another living soul. "You are not what they think you are," he said finally. He reached out, slow enough that she could have stopped him, and touched the brass key at her throat. "And neither am I. The whole country watched me tonight and saw a powerful man making a fool of himself over a woman." He almost smiled. They never once considered that the woman was the powerful one, and the man was the fool, and that he knew it, and chose her anyway. Her breath caught somewhere it could not get free. There was no plan in it, no leverage, no move 3 steps ahead. For the first time in years, Amara did something purely because she wanted to. She closed the last of the space between them. The kiss was slow and unhurried and certain. 2 people who had spent the whole night being seen wrong by everyone, finally seen right by the only person who mattered. The snow sealed the roads. The fire burned low, and the bittersweet truth settled over both of them, that the love had been real long before either of them would have dared to say so. She did not sleep. She lay against him in the dying firelight and listened to his breathing go slow and even, and she let herself, for 1 hour, be a woman who was simply loved. It would not last. She knew that the way she knew her own pulse. Out there in the snow, men her sister had warned and men his father had sent were already moving. But for this 1 hour the cabin held, and she let it. Then, near 3 in the morning, his phone lit up in the dark. He took the call at the window with his back to her, his voice low enough that he thought it stayed there. But the cabin was small and the night was silent, and Amara, awake in the dark, heard every word. "There is one way she lives," the voice on the line told him. The voice of his father's man. "Tomorrow, on camera, in front of the same country that watched you claim her, you renounce her. You deny her completely. You undo tonight in public, or she does not see another sunset. Choose." He was quiet for a long time. Amara watched his shoulders, the set of a man doing the hardest arithmetic of his life. And then she heard him say the word that broke her. "Done," he said. "I will renounce her tomorrow." He would rather be the man who shattered her in front of the whole country than the man who buried her. He hung up and stood at the glass a moment longer, gathering himself, certain she was asleep, certain he would carry this alone. He had no idea her eyes were open. She lay perfectly still and let one tear go. Just one. The way she had let one crack show at the gala. Then she folded it away beneath the cold thing that had kept her alive her whole life. He had chosen to break her to save her. He had decided, alone, in the dark, what her life was worth and what it would cost. He had not asked her. Men were always deciding her worth, without asking. She waited until his breathing slowed against the far wall. Then she reached for her own phone. She scrolled to a number she had buried so deep she had to confirm it was still real. A number she had sworn, on everything she had left, that she would never call again as long as she lived. Whatever was on the other end of that line was the one thing in the world more dangerous than Devlin Park, more dangerous than the chairman, more dangerous than the man sleeping 10 feet away who had just chosen her life over her heart. Her thumb hovered. The man she loved had made his choice alone. Now she made hers. She pressed call. It rang once. It rang twice. And then, against everything she had believed for years, the line connected. Someone was there. Someone breathing, silent, waiting. On the far end of the one number she swore she would never call. Amara closed her eyes. Her lips parted, and she spoke a single name into the dark. The name that changed everything. The name that was about to rewrite who every person in this story really was. If you need part 2, comment one word, stay.